Also, how did World War III in Twilight 2000, how is it the war that ended all wars when they're still fighting?
Carl Rodriguez is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. That was Jason Connerly at the top of the show asking this question about, well, is it really the last war in Twilight 2000? People are still fighting, even in the game. But those aren't my words. Those are the words of the author in some sort of blurb or quote in the Twilight 2000 book. They even have a publication called The Last War as part of that line. I guess we could try to contact Frank Chadwick and ask him. Unfortunately, we cannot contact Lauren Weissman, who passed away in 2017. But anyway, that's not what this podcast is about. I apologize for my voice in advance. I've been suffering from some sort of allergy or maybe a cold. I'm not sure. Anyway, this podcast today is going to be about how I'm preparing for an upcoming con. A con online. It's BSerCon, and I'm going to talk about my ideas, my sort of con prep. And we do have a call from Jason Connerly before that. I was going to run 3 games at BSerCon, but I canceled one of them. I only had 1 player, but I'm going to probably run that as actual play on Saturday night with a couple players outside of the con. But I'm excited. I'm going to be running 2 games still. One game is Twilight 2000 4th edition, and that's going to be Armored Knights of South Texas. It's kind of an intro to something I've been wanting to do, which is to have an American side campaign in Twilight 2000, the 4th edition. This is a one-shot, but maybe it could lead to something else. I'm excited about it. I have 4 players signed up for the game, and it should be pretty fun. We'll see how it goes. The other game I'm running is a variation of Reaver by Raven God Games, and it's going to be Plata o Plomo. The adventure, or the game, is called Miami Heat, but the title of what we're trying to do is Plata o Plomo Narco Thriller Role-Playing. So imagine, Miami Vice, Narcos, other shows like that. So it should be a fun weekend. And let's get into it. First, we got a call from Jason Connerly responding to something I hinted at in the last podcast.
Hey, Carl, Jason here. Listen to episode 236. If you need a guest on how to run a murder mystery in a game, you could do a lot worse than GM Shadow, because he ran a 10th level MERP adventure for us that was a murder mystery minus Tirith. Minion and over at Confessions with Timur Spooshi, and I played in that. It was a really good adventure, very exciting, disproving that high level magic makes it impossible to run a murder mystery. So I would recommend you reach out to GM Shadow from the Shadow the GM podcast and see if they want to come on to talk about murder mysteries in games, because he ran a very, very successful murder mystery for us.
Hey, Jason, thank you for that recommendation. I'll definitely reach out to Barry, GM Shadow of Shadow the GM podcast, and see if he'd love to come on. I have someone else in mind as well, so maybe I'll do like 2 short interviews, get their quick thoughts on how to do things, and then put it out. So, all right, let's get to the meat of this. The first game I'm preparing for is Armored Knights of South Texas. And I originally had called this Armored Knights of the Brazos, but then I've gone through certain thought processes on what I wanted to do. And originally I was like, oh man, maybe I could start here at this location and then have like a little hex crawl. But then I'm like, not for a con, let's have it more directed. So I reread the product by Twilight 2000, the first edition, called Red Star Lone Star. It is by William Keith, Lauren Weisman, and Frank Chadwick. I believe it's William Keith, the actual, yeah. Well, design is by William Keith Jr., so you might know him from a lot of FASA-related, FASA Traveler products. Also, well, not GDW, but he also did some stuff for GDW as well. Traveler stuff and the like. So how did I start doing this? Or what did I conceive of first? So the first thing I did is I came up with the map. I went on to Google Maps, and you can also check out, there's another site where you can get like military type maps or military looking maps. And yeah, you can just screenshot them really and use them as part of your VTT background and set up as a map. So I set up a map of South Texas around Victoria, the Victoria area, Port Lavaca area. That's where we're going to kick off. And then after that, I built characters. So I think that's very important. So I can kind of wrap a story around the characters and what they're about. Maybe give them some hooks as to why they would be here. And then after that, I just started jotting down notes and putting things down. A lot of research and reading. Well, a moderate amount, just rereading, like I said, Red Star, Lone Star, and kind of getting ideas for adventure hooks there. And then rolling forward with it, kind of redoing the introduction to fit my story and the characters that I built, the pre-gen characters that I built, and then putting together some maps, another map of the region, a generic battle map, a map of potential encounter that might happen in here. And then I went through and kind of looked at the different encounters and thought which encounters would work really well. Really the way the game system or the way that the design worked back when this was published, or I mean, that's the way they wrote it, as a series of random encounters. And so every time you run this adventure, it could be quite different, right? There is a general set of plot points, but it's more of discovery and exploration, and you can run into trouble or not along the way. So I think it's done pretty well. And then I got some handouts, looked at some NPCs, put them out and ready to go. I did something to might ease a lot of like where the player characters will go is based on the rumors that they pick up. So kind of like your gossip role, or I guess I don't know what else, social role, social in Pathfinder, gossip in Warhammer Fantasy, maybe I think it's diplomacy maybe in 5e, I'm not sure. But anyway, you talk to the locals and find out what the hell's going on in this place, and that's part of the mission that I set out for the player characters. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, it'd be great. And for me, it's like a idea and a kickoff. And if this goes well, then I'll try to propose it to some of my players as kind of a kickoff for an American side campaign based in Texas, because I kind of know the area, being from San Antonio, Texas. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how what Twilight 2000 First Edition, what they conceived of what would have happened in Texas during World War III in the alternate timeline and universe of Twilight 2000. So yeah, so that's that. I thought it was pretty fun to come up with this, and I'm excited for this to happen. Like I said, I did end up canceling the Savage World game, and I was gonna kind of have it modeled or inspired by One Piece anime and the new show that's on, I think it's on Netflix. And I was looking around to see what if there's anything available that kind of modeled that or could mirror that feel. And I found, or I had, I guess I got it out of a bundle, but I know Jason Connerly has recommended it before, and that was 50 Fathoms, and that works pretty well, sort of the vibe and the feel of it. I would just kind of reskin some of the species in there and make them more in line with One Piece in that verse. And I also wanted to kind of make the characters kind of super heroic. I feel like the characters in the anime have some like powers, right? And they come from strange origins of the planet or verse that they're in. And I was going to use the Savage World Supers book and give them like the low level powers, and then kick it off from there, focusing around the restaurant and then them meeting a new crewman. And so, but like I said, only one person signed up, so I just sent a note to the organizer and decided to cancel it. I'll table that and use it for something else. It's very odd. I mean, I proposed a Savage Worlds game because in the past at BSerCon, or the last two, it's been Savage Worlds heavy, but this time it doesn't seem like those are popular. I know another game, a Savage World game we played last year, that was really fun and had a good time with. It doesn't have anyone signed up, so I don't know if Savage Worlds has faded or diminished in popularity. Who knows? Maybe they have too many properties out and people are kind of disjointed about it. But I like Savage Worlds a lot. They are coming out with some new products here in the first quarter, including the Savage Worlds Horror Companion. They just redid Necessary Evil, and they're coming up with stuff like that. Maybe their model of kind of crowdfunding is not appealing to people at the moment. I don't know. It just seems Savage Worlds, at least at BSerCon, is not as popular. We'll see how that goes as the convention season starts up. Before I talk about the last game, I would be remiss in mentioning that we have actually started Twilight 2000, our ongoing campaign that's been 2.5 years running. We just started actual play. I think it's going to be out next week, the actual play. And it was a fun campaign. A lot of time, this session wasn't very action heavy. It was more about cleaning up after a big battle that happened the time before and having some fun with a friendly game of soccer/football between the players and some NPCs on their side, and then some other NPCs in a different group. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it worked out pretty well. I liked the quick mechanic I came up with, and maybe we'll see more of that in the future. I know the players are already planning to thwart my machinations. Well, the machinations of the NPC, the major bad guy in the current sort of adventure, and we'll see how that goes. So the last game that I'm going to run, like I said, is Plata o Plomo, narco thriller role playing, and I have to say it was really great to get together and brainstorm with Jason and with Joe. Joe of Raven God Games, Jason, you know very well, Connerly. And the way I conceived this, though, is I didn't put the map down first. I thought of the plot. What is the plot going to be of this tale? And mainly that's because when we played Reaver, we haven't used a lot of maps and tactical. It's kind of theater of the mind. So I'm really not going to have maps. I'm probably going to have scenes, kind of what Dungeon Muser does, have scenes and then have tokens, and these represent what's going on, and these are the bad guys, and kind of have them narrate the scene, so you have a scene in the backdrop and then the tokens in the front. That's the way I've sort of conceived that way we played Reaver. Really, like I said, not a lot of tactical maps and stuff, and I think Reaver lends itself well to more of the theater of the mind and the narrative. So this is like modern Reaver, and that's what we're trying to come up with. So I have a plot, and then I came up with the plot with some help, like I said, from Joe and Jason, and then we went over how to fit in the characters, modern style characters, into the Reaver framework. So we came up with like four different classes, I guess, for lack of a better term, because it is a class-based leveling system, and then we kind of adapted them and made it the characters. So it was like plot of the adventure, then the characters, and then after that filling in the rules. So I'm still working on setting that up on the Roll20, but since I don't have to be searching for maps, just be searching for scenes, backdrops that I can use, I think it's going to be pretty fun and pretty cool. Reaver is a really fantastic and fun system, and we're going to check it out with Modern. We even have some ideas for rules for Autofire. So chase rules, of course, because you have a kind of chases in this type of narco thriller. And gunplay. So the main thing is going to be more range combat as opposed to melee combat, which you have more of, I would say, in a sword and sorcery the Reaver traditional setting. So yeah, so this really actually has got me thinking of other places I could throw in Reaver or use a Reaver system, and one that did come to mind. I don't know when I'll do it, but I've been wanting to run a campaign in Harn, in the world of Harn, well, Kythera, Celestia, Lithia. Uh, so you know it as Harn World, and that's just really the island that N. Robin Crosby came up with. It's published by Columbia Games, but there's a whole big planet, right? And the continent is called Lithia. And I've actually always wanted to run like an Avinian campaign, Avinian being sort of a orthologue of Scandinavian culture during the Viking Age. There are a lot of raiders and Viking activity. And I feel like Reaver would work great with that. I've run that by Joe. And of course, wouldn't do it as a sort of, it'd be just more like a fan-based fan type of thing. And if we ever got it to like some sort of, I don't know, format where it could be distributed to the masses, it'd probably be free. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and it's just great because in Harn World, it's kind of a generic. I mean, it's a system agnostic, so you could run any system. And while I have been I've been toying with the idea of sort of doing a Harn Hammer, because it seems like the general comment with the Harn Master system is that the too many decisions for not enough payout in the Harn Master rule system, especially for combat. So maybe Harn Hammer could work. I don't know. But maybe just run Harn Master and see how it goes. I don't know. This one seems it's going to be kind of short and sweet. I don't know if I have much more to add other than I'm looking forward to BSRCon. Next week's podcast will be a BSRCon recap, and then I'll introduce the concept of our next game for our ongoing, my home group, our ongoing, we meet regular every Thursday, and we're about to finish up a one-shot of the Alien RPG tonight as I'm recording this. So the next time we play, while we rotate that with Warhammer Fantasy, our ongoing Enemy Within campaign, we're going to run and start a Pathfinder 2 campaign, the Bloodlords campaign. So I'll talk about that as well next time. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. This has been the Geomologist Presents. You can contact me at geomologist@gmail.com. Shoot me a message, verbal or typed. You can also reach me through SpeakPipe. I put SpeakPipe link in the show notes. You can also attempt to leave a message on Spotify for podcasters. So TJ Drennan does the intro and outro music, and my wife Amy does the cover art, the cover clip art that you see, that I usually use for the Geomologist logo. And without any more to say, I'm just going to say good night and good rolling. Thanks for listening.